the first edition of this IMC, and there's no reason why we can't sort of be as good or not, if not better than the Mobile World Congress.
That's true.
And it's held in Barcelona, and consider the size and scale of the market which India is. It's the largest market in the free world, and therefore every action is here, and therefore we should have more and more of these conferences.
But behind the scene, I mean, there's obviously been so much talk at the potential of the mobile industry for India. But we had many telecom operators and others coming out here and saying that the industry could be getting stressed. Okay, there's one big new player which has come in, maybe one or two other big players. But for a majority of them, they're saying they're under severe financial stress. They're talking about debt, about the high spectrum they've paid, and they're worrying about the future from a financial point of view. You share their concern?
No, I mean, we had meetings with them, and we talked to them, and then we have made recommendations to the government, a number of recommendations which could actually work in that direction which you are referring to. So that those steps we have taken.
So can I just come in and ask you about this entire thought that where you took away interoperability, the fee out there.
Right.
A lot of people have said that it's come at a time where it favors one new player and the others tend to get a little bit hit because when they came in and they bid extremely high prices for spectrum, they had particular economics that they took. Incoming call this much, outgoing this much, data this much, interoperability fee this much. Now that business model completely got broken. And when they say एक तरफ एक company को थोड़ा favor हो गया, what do you usually say to that?
See, we started this exercise. Let me first explain as to what this interconnect user charge which you are referring to, what it is. See, telecom is, you can't build silos. You need to have interconnecting networks because that's what telecom is. If one customer cannot talk to another telecom provider's customer, it's not a telecom. These are the silos. So therefore, interconnection is at the heart of the the entire telecom network. Now, this is a very strange situation where you as a network operator is collaborating into the business of your competitor, right? Let's say network provider A and B. Now, B's customers actually, when they make a call to your customer, you are essentially assisting that network to make that call happen, and therefore that network has to pay you something which you do for handling that call.
Correct.
So therefore, this is called the interconnect user charge. And we started an exercise to review this charge because there have been a lot of progress and changes. The network has undergone a change, and there were some other trigger points due to which we started a review. The last was done in March of 2015. So when we started this review, and then we started computing the cost. And the idea is that we should compute the exact cost because you can't make this as a profit vertical, right?
But in that sense, a key question will come up as to what all should be included in the cost. Because while the cost of a call itself may not be that much, but what a lot of the existing telecom operators will say is that there's a lot of sunk cost also. Spectrum, for example, is cost. People is cost. The cost of renting towers is cost. And therefore, that should be part of our
essentially, if you read the interconnect, that explanatory memorandum which we have come out with that, this is the first time where we have actually given the cost sheets, Excel sheets, the principles.
But things like spectrum are not part of that.
No, they're not a part of it because the model, certainly, let me explain to you, the model which is basically followed all over the world now, 26 countries of the European Union, where what is said is that you must include only the avoidable costs because you build your own network to cater to your customers. This is a situation where what should be loaded onto the interconnect is essentially what is called the avoidable cost, which is you can't have the common costs included in that, number one. Number two, also realize that there are now a lot of data is coming out of these networks, and data is coming out of the networks, and all the spectrum is not being used only for delivering the voice. Recently bought spectrum is being used to deliver the data. So therefore, there is a whole, about 15 or 16 paragraph of that explanatory memorandum you will see that basically explains as to why this particular methodology is employed and why this methodology does not take into account the common cost, including the cost of a spectrum.
Okay. So one of the things that I think every operator, or at least the ones that seem to be suffering because they had put it into their business model, is that they say that the one part that they'll get hit is divided into two. One is all the legacy things that they've already put in, investments they've already put in, where they thought they would get a return based on something that was already there. And the second is rural India, they say, will get hit the most because of the interconnectivity. No fee being paid because that's not somewhere where they're making money. That's something they're doing with the good of their heart. Right? How do you react to that?
On the contrary, this particular, cost-based, we did the cost-based in 2015.
Yes.
We have been doing cost-based since 2003.
Okay.
So this is actually a cost-based situation where the operator is being paid for exact amount of what the work he does. We computed and all these cost sheets are available. The price was 5.90 paisa per minute and we rounded it off to 6 paisa. So basically that's what is being paid. And we feel that having a lower interconnect charge will actually nudge the operators to go in for a more efficient technologies, which is the IP-based technologies, which is where we should progress, India should progress. That's one part. And it is likely to bring down the tariffs, though tariffs are under forbearance and anybody can do whatever tariffs you want to charge.
Right. But many of the, of course, IP-based technologies, a large part of India is still using phones that don't actually have access to it. So they are, in a sense, left out.
So you want to say that they should continue to use the
No,
older
I'm just in the
technologies?
reality of the situation on the ground right now.
No, certainly not. Digital India needs data everywhere. And that data will be there and at affordable cost, and that's what we want. Right. So essentially, there's a need to move towards a network which are much more efficient, which can deliver voice as an application on top of data.
Yeah.
Because data is the new raw material. Data is the one from which you construct voice, you construct text, you construct videos, and you construct pictures. Right. And maybe you will construct many more things. So, and that's what we need to,
Can I ask you a personal question? So
Sure.
when you took this, and of course this is a radical decision to take.
No, it's not a radical decision. It's a very simple decision where you
the
computed
reaction
the cost.
has been super radical, right? So my question is exactly that. How much did you expect? Did you expect the reaction to be this much? Did you think that they're all literally going to say, you've literally destroyed us?
No, it's not. As I said, first of all, it does not add or subtract from or to the stress in the sector. Because essentially, it is nobody's case that interconnect user charges should be a profit vertical for any company.
Yeah.
And you should be compensated for the work which you do. No less, no more. Yeah. And therefore, once that is being taken care of, you are, the more calls you handle, the more money you will be paid. The less you handle, the less you pay. If you make money, then of course scale makes you more money. Yeah. If you lose money, scale makes you lose money, more money. So this is really
the
an
criticism.
issue.
I guess the reason why there will be outrage is because, in a sense, what happens every time a decision like this is taken is effectively something like 5,000 crore rupees is taken from the old players and transferred to a single new player. In one form or the other.
In a way, what you said, that it is natural that if I am affected by a decision,
I will resist.
I'll resist. If I am, benefited by a decision, I'll say very happy.
So
great
I've been seeing that you've been quite upset about some of the criticism that's come, including from your predecessor.
I've been upset not from the criticism, not at all. I've been upset by the fact that, from some quarters, people have challenged the integrity and honesty of the institution and the individuals associated with that.
Your predecessor also is
No, that's what I'm saying. So essentially, you may be a very wise person. You may be a very knowledgeable person. You may be an expert in technology, other public policy, finance, economics, etc., etc. But that does not give you a right and entitlement to question somebody's integrity. And when that happens, that's not fair.
Right. Just looking ahead a little bit, the stress that you are seeing, and first of all, how serious is this? Because obviously, telecom being such a crucial sector for India, right? It's the most important sector. Everything that we're talking about in the future is going to be built on communication.
It's the bedrock, I think, where all industries in the future
and we've heard that repeatedly. Right? The last thing that you want is there to be deep financial distress out here. So what is it? I'm sure you've been talking to the government as to how do we address this situation? There are some consolidation will take place. Some companies will go out of business. But there's 450,000 crores of debt out here. What would be your thoughts?
See, the government is quite conscious of this fact. They have constituted what is called an interministerial group, and that group is going to give the report. Probably it has given the report. And what we had done was we had called the telecom service providers on 15th of June to be precise, and we asked them, tell us what we can do. As a regulator, what you expect from us. And they essentially told us that you reiterate all the recommendations which you have made in the past, because TRAI has made recommendations in the past which relates to reduction of SUC, reduction of license fee, reduction of USOF, and various other kinds of issues relating to payment for spectrum, etc., etc. And those recommendations again we reiterated in a letter to the government, saying that this is what can be done in order to reduce the stress in the sector.
Yeah. When it comes to competition, see, this is the way competition works. You have competition, people come inside, it drives rates down, and this is excellent for the consumer. And that's what I think the government has also been saying. Consumers are having an absolute party, data rates down by 10%.
We've become world's cheapest calls, world's cheapest data, world's cheapest mobile handsets. Sounds really, really good.
Yeah. Excepting unless there's predatory pricing in there, which what some people are charging, that there's predatory pricing to drive a lot of people out of business. And then once there's consolidation or there's monopoly or duopoly, then rates will start to shoot up.
I will not really, no, I will not go into that question essentially because of a couple of reasons. One is that we are actually under the consultations currently to determine the basic principles of tariff, and that includes the predatory pricing, the significant market power, and other kinds of principles. So I really don't want to a priori, discuss that particular issue.
But in general, 3 or 4 players, is that the way it's looking like? And is that significant market power? You don't need to have 8, 9 players.
Is that ideal also, you think?
No, I let me not give any views on whether it's good or it's bad. The time will tell. And
so one of the things that I've had,
I'm not an economist, or I don't really want to.
One of the things that I've been hearing from quite a few of the operators is that with so many different things that they've asked for, can there be a rollback to this? Are you open to that? If that's what the operators, you and the government finally sit down and say could be good, would you be okay with the rollback?
Tell me one thing. 2 and 2 is 4, right? Now, whether can you roll back? I can say that 2 and 2 is not 4. 2 and 2 is only 3. Okay. The point is, whatever has been done in a completely transparent manner. Yeah. It is done. Cost sheets are open to public, to everybody, and people are welcome to point out any errors in that, and there are no assumptions in that computation, by the way. Okay. This computation, cost sheet data are based on the data provided by the telecom service providers. So essentially, I don't see any reason. This is just a computation, and this is just
the question that only arises what goes into it, right? That's obviously the case. Right. That should you include the minute you include spectrum into that cost, then the cost figure becomes totally different.
Right. But then that's a question of methodology as to what methodology you adopt. Yeah. And there are solid reasons as to why we must adopt this methodology, and that is provided for in the explanatory memorandum.
Right.
So away from all of this, may I just end with one very quick question? I know you have to leave also. We've been hearing some interesting things about this entire thing between you and Apple to do with the D&D and app. We've heard a rumor now recently that maybe they're starting to become a little bit more accepting of what you had proposed. Is that true? Is there a letter that's in place?
Our point is very clear. TRAI have started an app which is already available on Android platform, wherein we are saying it makes it easy for the customers to complain about the unsolicited commercial calls or messages. It's a simple thing.
The D&D app.
So what essentially happens is that it is easily, the application is there, and then, it can select like a drop box or like a check box saying that, yes, this is a UCC, this is an unsolicited commercial call or a SMS. So essentially, the customer is sharing the details of the calls done or the SMS made to them. That's a very simple stuff. And it is for every customer. Apple's customers also will be benefited by that. What is happening is that the Apple platform has not enabled the integration of the API wherein we could access the call details, and it is not as if the application is sucking all those call details. It is essentially the user is actively saying, this is a call which I received and I want to share with you and complain to you. So it's actually user sharing his or her own data,
right?
And that too not with a profit entity, that too with a regulator.
It's a utility for the customer.
Then if somebody raises the question of privacy or data privacy of the customer, this is nothing to do with privacy. It is actually you are now obstructing the customer to use his or her own data for his own advantage. That is not being enabled. And that's what we told Apple, that please enable that.
They're going to listen.
So is it true that they suddenly become happier about the thought?
They have recently given a letter to us saying that they have some approaches and some solution proposals which they want to discuss with us. And I said, most welcome.
So Sharma, it's always such a pleasure, sir, to talk to you. And we'll leave it to you to ensure that the rollout of all the dreams that we've been hearing here at the Mobile Congress actually happen in an effective manner. And are you confident that it will happen and eventually the industry will be able to?
He just said it shall happen.
Well, it's
Thank
in
you
your
so
hands,
much.
sir.
Thank you. Great speaking with you, sir. Thank you very much.
Sorry, sir,
He said finally.
we were covering so much good ground, as I said, let's just